Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the chilling details of one of modern American history's most baffling unsolved child mysteries. Just imagine dropping a child off at school, a place we all universally consider a safe haven, only for them to vanish without a single trace. Well, that is exactly the heart-wrenching situation we're looking at today.
So let's dive right into this by asking the core question. Honestly, how does a 7-year-old just vanish from a crowded school? It's a logistical nightmare that completely defies logic, and it has absolutely baffled detectives, families, and the public for well over a decade now. To even begin to grasp the scale of this mystery, we really need to map out the environment and the timeline of that day.
Which brings us to Section 1, a normal morning, June 4th, 2010.
To understand this enigma, we have to start with what was supposed to be an ordinary, exciting Friday morning at Skyline Elementary in Portland, Oregon. There were absolutely no warning signs. Kyron Horman was just 7 years old, wearing this black CSI t-shirt, and he was so proud displaying his science project on a red-eyed tree frog. He was smiling for a photo taken by his stepmother at the school's science fair, and tragically, this seemingly mundane, happy snapshot, it became his last confirmed photo.
Let's move on to Section 2, the timeline of disappearance, a breakdown in communication.
How exactly did a supervised educational environment turn into ground zero for a disappearance? The TikTok of that morning reveals a pretty critical blind spot. At about 8:45 a.m., Kyron was last seen walking down the hallway toward his classroom. But when class actually started, he wasn't there. His teacher marked him absent, assuming, quite understandably, that he had a scheduled doctor's appointment. Remember, the school was hosting its science fair, so the building was unusually busy. That frantic crowd of visiting parents and students basically acted as camouflage, completely masking the fact that he was already gone. This assumption of safety created a massive vulnerability.
The sheer panic didn't actually set in until later that afternoon. At 3:30 p.m., Kyron failed to get off his school bus. His family immediately contacted the school, only to discover a devastating truth. He had never attended class that day. Think about that. Massive, terrifying gap in communication for a second. Nearly 7 hours had passed before anyone realized a 7-year-old boy was actually missing.
That takes us to Section 3, Panic and the Search, Oregon's largest investigation. Once that realization hit, law enforcement immediately recognized the severity of the situation and launched an unprecedented response. We are talking about one of the largest missing child investigations in Oregon's history. Hundreds of officers were deployed. You had search and rescue teams, dedicated volunteers, helicopters, tracking dogs, and eventually even the FBI was activated. They literally scoured the surrounding forests, rivers, neighborhoods, and nearby roads, receiving thousands of tips. And yet, despite this massive web of resources, absolutely no trace of Kyron was found. It was like he had just vanished into thin air.
Moving to Section 4, Investigation and Theories. Looking for answers.
When forward momentum stalls in a case like this, detectives have to work backward to the very beginning of the day. Authorities naturally zeroed in on the last person known to have seen Kyron, which was his stepmother, Kyron Horman. Because she was the last one to see him walking down that hall at 8:45 a.m., she was questioned extensively. Investigators meticulously examined her timeline, searching vehicles and properties to map out her precise movements that entire morning. They followed numerous leads, just trying to lock down an exact minute-by-minute account of her day.
Now, it's absolutely crucial that we focus on this next point. Despite becoming a central figure in public discussions and facing intense media scrutiny, authorities have never charged Terry Horman with any crime related to Kyron's disappearance. Actually, to this day, no one has been officially named as responsible. With no primary suspect charged, investigators were basically forced to widen the net and search for other possibilities. This lack of a definitive suspect led cold case detectives to cycle through a few chilling scenarios, starting with this major question. Did Kyron somehow leave the school entirely unnoticed? Is it possible that a 7-year-old just wandered out of a busy building, past all those parents and staff members, and walked away into the surrounding area without a single person spotting him? Or what about an even darker theory? Did an opportunistic predator use the unusual chaos of the science fair as cover? With so many unrecognized adults, visiting parents, relatives, special guests, just roaming the halls that morning, it's a completely terrifying thought that someone could just blend into the crowd, appearing like any other parent, and slip away with a child. And then there's a third, really haunting question. Could someone familiar with the school, perhaps someone Kyron actually knew and trusted, have lured him away?
The reality is, despite years of exhaustive investigative work, thousands of hours of searching, and countless interviews, none of these questions have been answered. The trail goes completely, bafflingly cold right there, at that school hallway. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, An Enduring Mystery. The search continues.
Fast forward to the present day, and the book is far from closed on this. Detectives continue to review old evidence with fresh eyes. They are actively following up on new tips that, believe it or not, still come in. They're hoping for advances in forensic technology, and ultimately they are waiting for that one crucial witness to finally step forward. More than a decade later, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office and, most importantly, Kyron's family outright refuse to give up. They fight every single day to keep the memory of that smiling boy at the science fair alive. So until the truth is finally uncovered, we're left to look back at the facts of this explainer and ask this one unforgettable question. What really happened to Kyron Horman after he walked down that school hallway? It's a profound mystery that reminds us of the fragility of our everyday routines, and it's a case that absolutely demands an answer. Keep exploring the facts, keep looking for answers, and I'll see you in the next explainer.